Hello, 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 hello. We are live. Amazing. So hopefully everyone can see and hear me. Let us know in the chat. You guys have been buzzing already. Just wanted to address the quick question from Gary right now. Will there be a transcript of the session? It's not something that we do as a protocol, but if you are part of our Pro or Pro Plus membership, you can find the transcript in the on-demand section of your membership. That should be something that can pop up in your dashboard. So do reach out to myself if you have any questions accessing that. Great. So let's get started. Welcome, welcome. I'm Christina. I'm the community manager for Sales Enablement Collective. So great to see so many familiar names and faces in the chat. As you know, if you've been here before, the chat room is where we'll all interact, but there is also the Q&A section on the side. If you did have any questions, feel free to pop it in there. But if you are able to find it as quickly and you have a question, we can filter it as they go. So many of you know as well, the recording will be sent out by email, but if you are part of the Pro and Pro Plus membership, you should be able to find it in your dashboard. Shameless plug for myself. You will also see Ashley Johnson in the chat room. She is part of the UneeQ team, and she will be handling some of the questions as we go ahead. So hi there, Ashley. She is not a bot, despite some of the content that we'll be sharing today. Great to have you with us. So afterwards, if we're to keep the conversation going with Sales Enablement Collective, do join our Slack group if you haven't already. So today we are joined by Danny Tomset, founder and CEO of UneeQ, as well as John McCaskill, retired Navy SEAL commander and turned mindfulness teacher. And before we start, I just wanted to recognize that yesterday was Veterans Day, so thank you so much for your service. And that is a nice segue for you to introduce yourself first, John.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. Yeah, so as Christina said, I'm John McCaskill, a retired Navy SEAL commander. Thank you for the Veterans Day plug there. So I'm a retired Navy SEAL turned leadership and mindfulness coach, and I spent over 20 years leading high-performing teams in some of the most intense environments on the planet, I think. And now I help leaders and organizations work to build calm and clarity and confidence under pressure, and I hopefully do that without them losing their humanity in the process.
Oh, that's a lot of work summed up in a couple of sentences. Thanks so much. Danny, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, John is very humble. We're very thankful to have John on this, and I'm putting on the most manly voice I possibly can, having to be on here with John. So thankfully, I caught a bug on my flight over to LA. But for those interested, I'm the CEO in UneeQ, which is the digital human company that's focused on immersive training. And my background is a serial entrepreneur. I've built and exited a number of companies and led various teams. I love leadership. I love this new area of training and AI, and looking forward to the discussion today.
Alrighty, thanks so much. Let's dive in. So we'll just kick off with something a little bit personal. What is one of the moments in your career where preparation or lack thereof truly made a difference, whether it's a mission or a pitch or just a general big decision? Might start with you, Danny.
Yeah, I guess it's funny because as you just even asked that question, the story that came to me was even when I started my early career, it was in telecommunications, and I was put into a pre-sales role. I was kind of a nerdy geek. I came out of computer science, and they were like, "All right, you got this, champ." And I'm in the meeting room just thinking I'm there to support the account teams with one of their key accounts. And they literally throw me some whiteboard markers and just tell me, pitch this cloud security product in front of everyone. And my training consisted of a couple of videos, basically a couple of beers at a bar beforehand with my interview. And that was about it. So good luck. And sadly, I really bombed it. I mean, I bombed it so badly that as I finished drawing on the whiteboard, I turned around and I literally saw the account executive's face, like shaking his head, just like, what have I just witnessed? What have I done? So that was a good example of a lack of preparation and a lack of training, and it stuck with me.
And I'll jump in, I guess. In the SEALs, we have this saying that under pressure, you don't rise to the occasion. We've all heard that, you rise to the occasion. But we have a saying that you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the lowest level of your training, or in this case, the lowest level of your preparation. And I did learn that the hard way. When I was a young SEAL officer, I led a mission where I definitely over focused on the plan. And I thought that was preparation, and it was. But unfortunately, I over focused on that and under focused on the people that were a part of the plan. So we were technically ready, but we were mentally and emotionally just scattered. And when the pressure hit, the execution faltered. Luckily, it worked out, but it could have gone terribly wrong and even cost lives. And that moment taught me real preparation is not just rehearsing the tactics, the strategy. It's aligning trust, communication, and mindset. And I'll tell you, from then on, I prepared teams as much mentally and emotionally as I did physically.
I think that's such a good point too. I actually, one of the reasons we built this product was on that very point. Was I thought that we had such good sales playbooks, we had all the things in place, and what I recognized, what I was lacking was just a clear connection with each of the individual members. Do they actually get the plan? Are they prepared in the way that I'm hoping they're prepared? And I had such a blind spot on that, and I thought, yeah, that was a really, really great point, John.
Wow, such vast experiences. Really is going to be quite an interesting dynamic. So moving on, we've sort of talked about extreme pressures. You've both led elite teams, and at times you probably had to sell your team or your what is the perfect name for? Is it platoon? Am I taking
Sure.
the wrong name, John?
No,
or your platoon on a mission.
A platoon or squad, or it depends on what level, but yeah, platoon.
Thank God I watched that movie then. So
yes.
Great. So moving on, Danny, you've built digital humans that train rep for those high stake moments, as well as training your team ready to execute on the mission. I'm just curious to know what are the signals that tell you, reps or your team is actually ready to perform in the field. John, are you happy to take this?
Sure. Yeah, I'll jump on that. So I've always felt that the measure of a good leader is when that leader can step away from their team and the team can still execute. So when I felt confident that I could step back or step away and they would still succeed, that's when I felt they were ready. Readiness in teams, in elite teams or teams just in general, it's not about perfection. And that's what so many of us get stuck trying to achieve, is this perfection. But it's really about flexibility and adaptability. When they're ready, when they can think and decide and act without me there, without kind of waiting for these orders. And we built that by practicing under realistic stress. So this immersion that we're going to talk about, right? We built that by rehearsing the plan until the plan broke. We rehearsed building in contingencies, like one of us being hurt or losing an asset, such as a helicopter or a boat. You name it, we rehearsed it, and then we adapted, and then rehearsed again and rehearsed again. And when my guys started really anticipating each other's moves, communicating clearly under this stress, under this chaos, and owning their piece of the mission, that's when I truly knew that not only was I ready, but they were ready with or without me.
Yeah, that's on the money. I think that's probably been my journey as leading sales teams. Where I got it really wrong initially was I thought that it was a hiring problem where I didn't have enough high performers in my team that I was hiring that could just operate at the level I needed them to without me. But ultimately, what I discovered was, as you sit on these calls and you're listening, you're like, man, where did that even come from? Why would you even say that? That's like a terrible thing to say. It's like, this is bleeding edge, not leading edge. You're like, why would you say that? That's not even helpful. And then I recognized more and more was it's actually impossible to hire enough people that are just instinctively at that top level of sales. Like, they're out there, they're superstars, they're great, but it's very, very hard to find them, and you can't scale a team that way. I had to figure out a way of how to equip and prepare people that had a set of skills and great personalities, but weren't able to connect the dots. And for me, that was about the preparation and trying to understand, how do you prepare them better than just shadowing and taking them through content and things like that. And just what you shared, John, is like that repetition. Where's that come into it? It was quite eye-opening, really, because I mean, it's bizarre that in sports or other things, there's no way we would coach a sports team and like just line them up and say, watch YouTube videos and watch all this content, and then just get out there and be awesome, team. Ooh, and then there'll be like two or three that are just naturally good and the rest aren't. And you just be like, that's the problem. Didn't have the right team members. That's essentially what I was doing. And so, yeah, so it was a profound moment for me a few years back as I shifted into, there's a formula that can work, and it's all about how you prepare.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump on that really quick, Christina, with a similar analogy. I heard something similar in that would be like trying to learn how to drive by watching a NASCAR race. And, none of us do that, right? There has to be immersion. There has to be an experience to it. And I fully believe that's how we can take our team members to the next level, is giving them that immersive practice.
Oh, that's so true. And it really does kind of touch into so many things outside of sales enablement, as well as so much of the leadership stuff that you talk about, John. On the topic of immersive practices, there's you sort of mentioned the difference between surface training or readiness in the real world. Curious what you guys think are the measurable behaviors that you look for in a rep or a teammate that tells you they truly are prepared and ready to go. I guess for John, have you seen immersive practices make a difference preparing SEALs as well as in leadership that you see later in your career? Danny, I think you can take this one. Oh, sure, John, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I thought that one was targeted at me initially, so my apologies. But
I'll talk about my Navy SEALs experience, Christina, if that's okay. No, over to you, John. We'll do my story later.
All right. So, I mean, I've definitely seen the immersive practices make a real difference. I mean, that's really almost all we use 100% in the SEAL teams is immersive practice. Whether that is actually going through training on a shooting range or diving, or, I mean, virtual reality is also immersive practices that we've started plugging in. So in SEAL training, you're constantly placed in environments that either are real pressure or simulate real pressure. So cold, exhaustion, uncertainty. And you're not just learning what to do, you're also learning what not to do, and you're learning how to be when everything feels like it's falling apart. That's really, as a leader, that's where I think we can thrive, is how are we in these intense situations. In leadership today, immersive practice looks different, but the principle is the same. We've always had these immersive practices, but it's still the same principle: realistic simulations, tough conversations, crisis drills, right? So yes, this isn't the SEAL teams, but you can do something in a realistic simulation in corporate America on the ground. And the more we train people to face discomfort in the controlled setting, where there's really not people's lives or injury or the bottom line as the consequence, the more we train them in those environments, the calmer and more capable they become when the real thing hits.
It's this is I think what's really important to discuss about immersion as well. I think the nature of if we just bring this back to sales training and preparation, like there are a lot of tools. I've seen a couple just even thrown up in the chat here, and I think that like any tools, it's not that tools don't have value, but I do think the right question to ask is what's the level of preparation you get from a tool that doesn't emulate the real world situations that you're going into, right? It's kind of limited. And I think the key to preparation is bringing that as close as possible into the level of interaction that you will be expecting in the real world, and then giving a feedback loop, which you can use AI to do. And I think the consequence of AI's acceleration is that we've got a lot of tools. I don't think there'll be gimmicks, but I do think that there's more hype than value in some of these tools, whether it's just a chat experience or, if I'm walking up and I'm having a conversation with someone, I don't walk up to their chest and start typing on them, right? Like, why would I do that, right? Or I wouldn't say, can you close your eyes? I'm going to close my eyes. Let's just talk without looking at each other. Like, we just don't do that. Why would we prepare our people that way? It's like, hey, why don't we tie your hands behind your back and then you just go be awesome? It's like, that's just, for me, it's just bizarre. So for us, we just really focused in on immersion as like, this is going to really replicate the feelings, emotions, personalities, behaviors, objections, knowledge. Everything needs to be deeper than some surface level thing that doesn't truly prepare you. And immersion really puts you in the moment where you forget, actually. If you've ever been immersed in a movie or a game, you actually forget who you are. You're a character in the game. You're connected emotionally to the characters in the movie. That's what we believe immersion really is, and how it becomes more effective, combined with the AI coaching and that feedback loop. Yeah.
I'm not sure what you mean, Danny. I go up like this to people all the time. But I definitely, I think working from a remote world, it's hard to remember how to interact. So fantastic. I know there's a lot of sales leaders as well as enablement team members in our chat, and many of you guys in the audience will probably relate to the pain that I'm about to share, that there is just not enough time, not enough scale, and just not enough engagement in a lot of the operations that we run from day to day. John, I'm curious to know from your mindfulness and leadership coaching background, like what is the human piece that gets ignored when programs are ramped up really quickly and things are working at scale and at pace?
Yeah, I think it kind of builds upon what Danny just said. The connection is the piece that I think gets lost in these high-speed ramp-up programs. We get lost, or we focus on metrics, processes, outcomes, but we forget that we're dealing with humans with a mindset behind the performance. I love Danny's analogy. You walking up and typing on somebody's chest. People aren't machines. They have feelings, and that's both physical feelings, right? And the emotional feelings. They may be coming into work with something that is happening in their life, some battle that they're fighting, a financial battle, a spiritual battle, an emotional battle, a health battle. I mean, you name it. We all have battles that nobody else knows about. And when you don't give space for reflection or self-awareness or even stress management, I think you end up with teams who can perform in the short term, but they can't sustain it. They can't sustain that performance. And the best programs remember that readiness isn't just skill-based. It's the state. What state is your team in? It's state-based. Is your team ready mentally, physically, emotionally? Are they prepared? You can't perform at your best if you're not, or rather, if you are mentally scattered or or emotionally drained. If you're burned out, you can't, I mean, we've all heard the proverbial, you can't pour from an empty cup. I think that's the connection that helps with that, the connection and understanding, the empathy, the compassion, and really not only seeing your people as human beings, but also being a human being, right? You have to be seen as a human being. You have to be real. You have to be authentic. You have to be disciplined at the same time. But the connection, I believe, is the human piece that gets ignored in that fast ramp process.
Yeah, with sales, authenticity is so key. And I feel like, that has to be at the forefront of any level of training and practice. I think to answer your question, Christina, in engagement in particular, I actually just think sometimes we in organizations are just boring. I think we're just boring. Sales is a high energy, constant, there's a lot of emotion in sales. It's just constant emotion, your own, everyone else's that you're dealing with within your own team, your energy, the customers, just as John was sharing. And then I think we just get too caught up in trying to create systems, processes, and frameworks and everything else, which are important. I believe it. You just heard me say before, I'm a believer in this. But at the same time, if engagement's low, part of it is because you've got all the stresses of performance, all the emotion side, and then some things are just boring and they don't feel helpful and you don't feel motivated. And I think one of the things that we really set out to solve in this area is the fact that, we've got early 90s in Gen Z, so 91, I think 92% of Gen Zers are gamers, play games, and the millennials, I think it's high 80s, I think it's like 88%, something like that, across male and female. So you've got a new workforce, a young generation who's coming through who are used to playing games that actually have shorter attention span than due to all the natures of social media and new ways of interacting. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that when we create training and we want to prepare people, like if we can plug into the fact that it won't be boring, it's something that's interesting, it's something that feels valuable and helpful, it's something that feels connected to what people already know and do. I think those are the things that really help impact engagement. And then ultimately, we just want people to be better. And in my team, like when I'm looking at, what are they doing? I'm looking at, are we getting engagement? Great. But two, then I'm looking at, well, how is this improving their results? And those types of things are both, I think, looking at the actual results, but I'm also tracking particular areas that I know make a big difference. So for example, if I'm looking at areas where I just really want to focus on emotional connection with a customer, authenticity, we can do that. And I want to see how people respond to different scenarios where they are actually listening. It's not just curious to get the deal. It's actually curious to care. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's an emotional connection that comes if you're authentically caring about the conversation and the person. And there's a way we can track that through practice and what we do in the immersive training.
I love that, as well as sort of not skipping the human judgment element of things. Amazing. So I've got a few more questions, a little bit relating it to the real world. So let's talk a little bit about ROI and behavioral changes. I know when a company pilots or trials an immersive training platform, particularly in sales, curious to know how quickly you see adoption and habits forming. And then from a more untangible sense, John, maybe something about how you advise enablement and sales leadership teams to make practice stick. I know we all sort of fall victim for things becoming kind of a checkbox exercise. I don't know who.
Yeah. Danny, if you're okay, I'll jump on that one too.
Let's go.
I'm very task oriented. As a matter of fact, I have my to-do list literally over here, and this session is one of my check boxes. But I also understand that we have to make it more than that, and I believe that it sticks when it's embedded in the culture. It's not just something that's scheduled on the calendar or something on the to-do list. you can run the best training in the world, but if the organization treats it like a one-time event, the impact fades within a couple of days, maybe within a couple of weeks. I believe that real learning happens when practice is seen as part of the job, not a break from it. So to do that, leaders must set the tone. If the boss isn't practicing, isn't reflecting and showing curiosity about their own growth, no one else will. Culture follows examples, not instruction. When leaders engage in the same process that they're having their team engage with, or do, so they run the simulations, they ask for feedback back, they admit when they miss the mark. It sends a message that practice isn't the to-do list or isn't an item on that to-do list. It's not punishment. It's how we get better. It also has to be tied to real feedback loops. So in the military, we have this thing called the OODA loop, OODA. So observe, orient, decide, act. And that's a loop. So you're continually observing what's happening, orienting yourself to that, deciding what you're going to do, and then actually doing it, and then continuing to do that. We do after action reviews, AARs in the military. So that's assessing what it is that you did right, what you did wrong, what you should start doing, stop doing, these kinds of things. Reflection, coaching, every mission, whether that was practice or real world, ended with a debrief. And we didn't just ask what went wrong. We asked why it went wrong and how do we fix it next time? And that rhythm of practice, perform, reflect, adjust, again, the OODA loop, if you will, that's where growth really comes from. That's where it compounds. So you get that compounding interest. And too often in business, training stops at check the box, like you said. We measure attendance at these things. We're probably measuring attendance at this right now, but we need to not only measure adaptation. Repetition doesn't mean anything if you don't reflect upon those repetitions. I mean, even in something as simple as the weight room, right? We do sets and reps. But if you're not logging those sets and reps, how do you know whether you're getting better? Practice really only creates lasting change when it's connected to accountability, feedback, and then shared standards of excellence. Again, otherwise it's just reps without results.
And it's on the money. And I think one of the advantages now with AI, what it has really unlocked is the ability to do that at scale. Because I think OODA is so critical. I couldn't agree more. The challenge has always been, how do sales leaders, how do they support their teams? Some of them are expected to carry a number themselves, like different organizations, different challenges. But I think it's not removing the responsibility of the leaders, but I do think having AI coaches that can provide that feedback real time in people's own schedules where it suits them is a game changer for why this works so well. And I think just also thinking about, there are different stages to training as well. So I think if you're new into an organization, onboarding is so critical. And I think you are quite hungry to show that you can perform. So you have a higher degree of engagement and desire to do that. I think that's such a huge opportunity for ROI to really shrink that time to successfully hitting targets and making sales right down. And we've seen that. I mean, we have some of our clients with over 20,000 sales reps and a lot of onboarding in that. And one of my favorite areas is I think from a strategy, we just obsess about the salesperson. Whilst we care about the leadership and the enablement teams, and those are all key features, like it doesn't work if the salesperson is not seeing this as really valuable. So we really think about, what does it look like day one onboarding, and how do those scenarios become really relevant, and how do they ramp up as well? Just like doing sets, like John was talking about, you don't go out and you're just like, I'm gonna, bench press 400 pounds. It's just Well, John might. I can't do that. But yeah, so how do you level them up? How do you progress, build confidence, give the feedback loop, do those things, and hopefully build behaviors? I do think that it's a cultural dynamic beyond there, which is both a tool that's useful for reps, but also a culture of, hey, practice makes us better. And if you can start to elevate peers that are practicing and doing well, it really does bring others up. And so we're thinking more about gamification and other things in a product strategy, but ultimately I think it's a leadership discussion, which is how do we treat practice and awareness of practice across our top performers. I think that's always a great topic.
Danny, I'm really glad you brought up the training and onboarding of sales reps, especially at scale, because currently I think coaching and sales has traditionally relied on kind of ride-alongs and shadowing, as well as kind of just transactional feedback. And as you have sort of mentioned, it is very hard to scale. And I think a lot of people in the audience can relate to that as well, depending on your organization, probably even small ones, to be honest. So I'm curious to know how you both see the future of coaching evolving, especially with, AI and immersive tech that you guys are bringing up. Like, will it really completely replace human coaching and training? Whoever would like to take that first.
No is the short answer. No is the short answer. I think my entire career in AI, I mean, I've been doing AI technology since 2016. I was kind of the uncool AI kid in the room. But the reality is I always focused on the augmentation of how this really partners with our superpowers of being human and how we as humans have just incredible qualities. I mean, I've been doing digital humans for a long time. So the study of emulating human behavior, personality, emotion, and using AI to even contextually understand that. I've gone probably deeper than most in the science and research of this technology. And all it does is elevate just how complex and sophisticated we are as humans and how incredible those superpowers are when combined with and that's what AI is. It's a tool. And for me, I think about the nature of this technology is just even a personal experience, like leading my teams and having with our SVP of sales discussions now, like just the shared data that we get to talk through and really focus in on, because we can see through the practicing where people are struggling, where they're improving, what are some of the new messaging and positioning statements that we want to see happening and they're not, or they are, but they're not landing. We have so much more ability to like have a dashboard of like quality decision-making discussions and one-on-one coaching where it really matters. Too much of my time, and even when I talk to my customers, same thing, too many hours are spent like kind of shotgunning too many things. And you're hoping something lands for an individual. And when things don't feel hyper-personalized to you, like valuable, you also disengage. So it's just this perpetual cycle. So having this information, having this practice enables us as coaches and leaders to really just narrow in on what matters most for you, to help you, and to make better decisions as well around how we're creating our playbooks and everything else.
And I'm just going to, again, echo Danny's analogy there of not making things personal. I had a teacher growing up that said, if you don't make things personal, it's like going to the gas station and spraying gas all over your car, hoping some gets into the gas tank, which we all know wouldn't work. But to answer your question, I will also say the same thing Danny said. The short answer is no. I don't think AI will replace human coaching. But what I think that it will do, it will remove the excuses. For years, people have said that they don't have time for coaching, which another analogy that's like saying that you're too dirty to shower. And people have also said they can't scale coaching, or they're waiting for the next big training cycle. And AI changes all that. It gives us access to scalable, consistent, on-demand practice. Reps that we can take anytime, anywhere without needing that human coach in the room. Now, that doesn't mean the human element disappears. It actually, in my mind, makes it more valuable. And what I mean by that is when we finally do get that face-to-face coaching, whether that's with a manager, a mentor, a teammate, that time we can go deeper. Instead of spending it reviewing the basics, we can focus on the nuance, the tone, empathy, compassion, self-awareness, emotional regulation, emotional intelligence. And so I again will echo Danny in that I believe that the future of coaching is not human or AI. It's both working together hand in hand. Technology gives you the ability to do the reps, the muscle memory, the consistency, the data that shows where we need improvement. And then humans build the mindset, the wisdom, the emotional intelligence, and the trust that you cannot automate. So, obviously you're seeing that I'm a big fan of analogies. Like AI is the gym, and human coaching is the recovery, the reflection, and the integration. One without the other is incomplete. It's been incomplete without AI in the past, and AI alone without the humans would be incomplete. So the real opportunity is to use technology to free up the humans to do what only humans can do, and that is connect, listen, and lead.
That's amazing. It's such a great balance of like practical as well as life advice that we have today. Thank you both so much. I'm just also conscious of the time, and I know we sort of talked a lot about immersive training. I was curious if there was something that we could see in practice, as well as something that we can share. Danny, I don't know if you have something for us to see.
Yeah, because we talk about immersion a lot, so I always like to at least show something around the product so people understand what we mean by immersive training versus maybe some of the other AI tools that we've just talked about as well. So I'm going to do a little screen share here and just talk over a couple of the key features of our product and what we think really makes a difference. So if I can bring this up, it'll come up on screen now. All right, so this here is like any typical login for a rep on our product. They can come in and they'll have assigned scenarios and simulations. So Owen here is going to be doing a real estate scenario as a first-time buyer. What he's showing us just very quickly is if you're a moderator or an admin, how you can create these scenarios really easily. It's another part of obviously making this useful is ensuring that we can really make these scenarios, not just in how deep they are, how realistic, but also the AI coach. So you can see he's built some custom coaching on building buyer confidence. He's now creating a bit of context around why the meeting and how the digital humans should be responding in this. He's also giving it more data. So the AI now has a training document, so it can use that to both inform the experience, but also the AI coaching and support. He's now thinking about what should the personality of this customer be. So you can choose what they look like, how they behave. Are they going to be indifferent, skeptical? Is it something custom that could come up a lot in your particular vertical and industry? So he's creating all these obviously key inputs that then AI then takes that and creates a scenario, a simulation.
James, thanks for stopping by the estate agents today. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, I suppose. A bit nervous, to be honest. I've never, bought a house before, so all this is a bit new to me. I'm not totally sure what to expect.
Hey, I totally understand that, and congratulations on getting to this point in the first place. A normal starting point for us is actually just understanding a bit more around what you're looking for in a house. What are some of your non-negotiables?
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. I've been thinking about it, and I'm not really sure what my non-negotiables are, to be honest. I mean, I know I want something that's, affordable and practical, but that's about it, really. I'm not sure what else I should be looking for. I've heard some people talk about, location and schools and things like that, but I'm not really sure how important those things are to me. Can you help me figure some of that out, maybe?
Yeah, of course. I guess maybe if you could share a bit more about what you do in your spare time, and then we kind of figure out if a location makes sense then.
Spare time. Right. Well, I like to hike and get outdoors, I guess. Boulder's a great place for that. So I'd like to stay somewhere that's close to the trails and things. But I mean, I'm not sure if that's a deal breaker or anything. I also like to read and just relax at home. So I don't know if location is super important for that. I'm just not sure what to prioritize, I suppose.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess I'm curious, do you have any kids, or do you have any kids on the way? Maybe school location could be important for you.
No, no kids for me, at least not yet. I'm not really sure if that's something I'm ready for or planning for anytime soon. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out this whole buying a house thing, and that's already a bit overwhelming, to be honest. School locations aren't really a priority for me, I don't think. But I mean, it's good to know that's something to consider, I suppose.
All right. So you can see that he's trained a personality that's very unsure, quite a difficult one. This is the feedback loop now that we're showing. So now the AI coach has taken a look at how the conversation went, what you did well, and where you can improve. Here's some suggestions for next time. And this is all happening now pretty much in real time. So you're able to then go straight back into practice and try those things again and continue to get better with that type of personality or that situation or scenario. And we can create obviously any type of coach. It's all flexible and customizable to what you're trying to help people improve in. As I said, it could be more on emotional connection. It could be on other things. And then from a leadership point of view, you want to understand how the team's going. Leaders can look at how their teams are performing, break down exactly how the practice trends are going. Are they improving over time? You can dig into the practice as well, so they can actually say, oh, okay, here in the conversation you could probably do these things a lot better. So that's a very quick overview, but hopefully that gives everyone an idea of the immersion, the depth of what we're trying to enable our customers to build inside their needs to simulate what their sales reps are going to experience in the real world, and then the quality of the feedback loop and how we make that really helpful and useful. And then just don't be boring. Like, it's fun. It's really great to interact with digital humans. It really does help, and they have full emotional expressions, personality, behavior. It really does give you a good way to really read the person across the table and continue to improve in your soft skills as well as your knowledge.
Wow, thank you so much for the explanation. I'm going to share the link to the video if you did want to watch that back at your own time. It should be coming up in the chat room now, and we'll dive into Q&A. But I did want to, we usually address this by timestamps, but I did want to address BB's one just on the topic that you were talking about, the digital human. Does the tool measure your nonverbal body language and eye contact?
So yeah, so we do have a couple of ways of doing that. We have a brand new feature coming out, which is analyzing everything from video, eye contact, even emotional connection levels of like engagement. So if you seem disengaged or disingenuous, these types of things are coming through. But today we do have a very clear way of at least showing that you're engaged.
That's incredible. We do have quite a lot of Q&A, so I'll just address them more by timestamp, but I will be filtering some through as they come up. So please do type in your questions either in the chat box or the Q&A. We had one from Amy, curious what you define as foundational training and delivery development looks like leading up to immersive practice. Is it always 100% immersive?
So I think I'm a big believer that that you should be training for the environment that you're going into. So is it always immersive? I'm obviously a big believer in immersive, but I would suspect that if you're equipping people who are not necessarily dealing with customers face to face in the full immersive way, which is what we're doing now and what we would do in a number of industries. But potentially, if it's just a chat only sales kind of role where you're on a call center and you're just there to support and change, potentially that wouldn't be required. But yeah, anywhere where you interact with people face to face, I just don't think anything compares to the immersion.
Thanks so much, Danny. I have one actually for both of you. In both of your experiences, what gets in the way of actually changing behavior? Curious. John, you have a insight? Let Danny have a break.
I would say sometimes, I don't know if you guys have read Mel Robbins's book, Let Them. And she talks about how when we try to force a change in behavior, quite often what we get is the opposite. And what we need to do is model a change of behavior. We need to model it ourselves. If we ourselves have a particular way of doing things, connecting with people, and it's not working, and we ask questions, we're curious, and we demonstrate the potential to change, then I believe others can do that. But if we if we ask them to change, it's like asking a spouse or demanding a spouse to change, right? How well is that received? Very rarely is it received well. So I think modeling change is the most important thing, and one of the hardest things about change is trying to demand it, at least in my experience.
I think what we've seen across our customers as well is that there is a big difference in change where people buy into it because they get the value from it. I think particularly for sales enablement, that is one of the more challenging parts of the role, is the engagement and the buy-in. And I do feel though that what we've seen is such an increase in engagement on this product because people genuinely, one, enjoy the interaction, and two, they are getting value from it. And that's why we obsess about the sales rep first in the experience, because if they can get value, they will buy into it and they do use it. And then all of a sudden, everything starts to build momentum across there. Then their peers, and they're talking about it with others, and these things have really started to go really well. So that would be my experience.
Amazing. Thanks so much. And thank you, Ashley, for addressing some of the questions in the chat room. We also had a question about gaming, that does gaming create motivation and have a system you use for it? I think what's it, Danny, you mentioned gaming previously. Can you give some examples of what games and how?
Yeah, I think ultimately, there were two things that I shared. Obviously, people are very familiar with gaming, particularly the millennials, Gen Zs, and it's not limited to just those. They're just very high proportionately experienced in gaming. And the types of games that you might see them playing will be varied, but ultimately, they are getting that kind of dopamine rush from the different levels of games, whether that's Minecrafts or Fortnite's down to mobile games, whatever that looks like. There's a challenge and reward that is connected into that gaming experience, but there's also some level of immersion that is part of a lot of those games where people enjoy being part of a new world, a different world, a creative world, whatever that looks like, right? And so when you combine all those things and you recognize that is behavior that people use their time, their spare time, and they spend it in there because it's enjoyable and helpful. Well, helpful might just mean I want to feel good. That's fine. But in the business world, we can still leverage the exact same tools that are used in the gaming world, but kind of finesse them towards not just being helpful and I feel good, but helpful and now I learned something, I can do something, I have a new skill. And I think that's the power of what we're trying to create here, is take the things that work well in gaming and apply them into the business world under what we call immersive training.
Amazing. So we have one more question I think we'll end on. This looks like one for you, Danny. Is the primary use case for this platform new business teams, or does this also work for account management as well as customer success teams?
Yeah, we have all of them using it. I think the scenarios are different, but you can create the scenarios and the coaches flexibly to suit those different roles. But anyone that's really doing face-to-face interactions, I just think this is just a great tool to really help people hone in those skills, get repetitive, get the feedback that they need to get better. And each of those roles would be genuinely in need of repetitive cycles to improve, both in new teams coming on board and new people coming on board, but also everything's changing. New products are coming out, new customers, new markets, market shifts. Like there's constant shifts, and so I think repetitive training is a good thing for teams to embrace.
We still have a couple more minutes. We'll see how, we have one here. Interested to know how you compare to other AI coaching tools. Bit biased. I'm curious.
Yeah. No, I like the others better. No, so I think, I mean, the reality is, like I said, I don't think there's a bad tool. I just think tools are for specific reasons, just like to use analogies, because I'm with John and I got to match him with analogies. But, like my son and I are working on his car, we're talking about like the right tool for the right job makes all the difference. When you're trying to use the wrong tool to get something annoying out in the car, and it is just so painful, and then like 1 second you get it with the right tool. I think it's just the same with what we're saying. Like if you're trying to train call center staff who are just on phones all day, maybe that's not us. But if you've got salespeople who are out in the field and talking face to face, or customer success or account managers, like these are things that don't naturally always have captured data, so you can't analyze anything after the fact, so you're getting very little insights. Plus the people that are doing the job, they really need better tools that replicate the real world, and this is where I think we sit above anything else in market today.
Thanks so much. We're sort of coming up to time now, so I just wanted to ask if there was any closing remarks and where best to connect with you after this session. John, if you want to jump in on this one.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I know most of the questions were definitely targeted at Danny based on this amazing product here. I am a coach, and heck, now I want to try it. But as far as, contact me or closing comments, I don't have any aside from saying thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Great questions, everyone. And the way to contact me, the best way to contact me is just johnmccaskill.com. And that's JONMACASKILL.com.
And as you can see on the slide, there's my information below as well. And on our website, we've got plenty of ways you can even interact with a digital human. The team would love to set up a demo with you for anyone interested. And John, I just want to say thank you for being part of our webinar today. You're amazing. John is such a fantastic human, and I really encourage anyone to reach out to John. I have no doubt that the combination of what we do with tools, but also culture and leadership, is the way to really make a difference. So thanks again, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you both. It really has been such a great dynamic to have you both on the virtual stage with us, as well as Ashley supporting in the background and all the great engagement from our community. And if this is your first time with us, please do look back on SalesEnablementCollective.io, I believe. There's an events calendar that you can see any upcoming events from. And yeah, hope to all see you all in another virtual or in-person stage. You never know. Thanks again, John and Danny. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye.